Hi everybody, and welcome to another series. My name is Dorima Hamilton and I'm the Executive Director of Avance Latino. We're super excited for today's topic and this 3-part series where we'll be talking about identity theft. In today's part, we'll be talking about what is identity theft and what they use it for. Please be sure to follow this first part and follow along throughout the series because we build on each part. Before we get started, I want to invite you all to follow our YouTube channel, follow our page, turn on the notification bell so that every time we post these series and these videos, you are notified about everything that's going on and stay on top of everything. But with that, let's get started. So today we're going to be talking about what is identity theft. So identity theft occurs when someone steals your personal information. And that can be anywhere from your cell phone number to your email, down to perhaps your social security number and your date of birth. Anything that's tied to you personally that someone else is using to benefit them is what is identity theft. As you see here on the screen, it's someone that's just using your identification to perhaps open up new accounts, perhaps get a new loan, and maybe even employment, right? So let's move on to the next screen. How identity thieves use your information. So first, they steal your information, right? They steal your probably your social security number, your date of birth, your address. And now that they have all this information, what do they use it for, right? So they purchase merchandise. It can be possibly a purse or some clothing or a TV or maybe a laptop, right? So that's just some examples of merchandise that they can purchase, right? Another thing that they can do is perhaps open up a bank account. So they can open up a bank account using your information, perhaps open up a credit card or obtain a loan. Nowadays, with technology and everything that's advanced, especially in the last year after this pandemic, a lot of stuff expedited and started doing more stuff online. Same with lending, right? Now, there are many banks, many financial institutions where you're simply able to open up a new account, perhaps obtain a line of credit or a credit card online. So you don't need to essentially go into a financial place and open up an account. You can do that online. So if this person has your information, they will be able to do that on your behalf, right? So they'll be able to open up a credit card or open up a new bank account. Another thing that these individuals will be able to do is file your taxes or steal your tax return. We actually saw quite a spike in this in those last few months to year with everything going on with the pandemic. There actually was a huge increase in people stealing other people's tax returns. Why? Because at the time, the government was making sure that everybody received all the financial assistance that was made available to each family, right? With a lot of people losing their jobs, being furloughed, perhaps losing their business. So they wanted to make sure that families had the funds they needed to cover all expenses. And one way is to be able to receive your tax return. And so a lot of people were dumpster diving, stealing people's personal information to use that information to file taxes on your behalf and obtain that return, right? And sometimes the returns, I've seen them go as high as $10,000. And that's $10,000 if someone else takes that you'll never be able to obtain. You know, it might be a long process to be able to obtain all those funds back and be able to recuperate that, but it's a long, strenuous process. The next thing is to secure employment. So at first I was kind of surprised about this because how are you able to secure some employment if you're not the person you say you are, perhaps, right? So this is actually not that uncommon, especially amongst family members. They'll share each other's information just to be able to secure employment. You know, perhaps they don't have a social security card or they're not at the legal age to be able to work, or they have a background that maybe doesn't allow them to apply at the place that they're able to apply. And so a lot of the times these crimes happen out of I guess you can say compassion in a way, because they want to support someone in their family or want to help a friend, but it's still fraud. Another thing, and this was actually another thing that was very common in this last year, is unemployment and social security benefits. Why? Because we were in the middle of a pandemic and a lot of people wanted funds, right? Actually, here in the state of California, there's a huge unemployment fraud that has been happening, especially with inmates, where their family members were claiming unemployment benefits from their family members that were in prison or are in prison, right? And so it's still fraud, even though they're technically not working, but it's still fraudulent. They haven't been working for however their sentence has been, but it's still fraudulent. But we did see that a lot. And what's actually interesting is there was this, I don't know if he's famous, but this rapper that actually wrote a song and documented in his whole song his whole process of how he stole thousands and thousands upon thousands of dollars in unemployment claims. And law enforcement was able to use that as evidence in essentially a confession of his crime. So it's very, very common. If you have information, if people have this information, they're able to file the unemployment claims on behalf of other individuals. You know, we saw this also where parents filed on behalf of their young children. And because essentially the whole country was on shutdown, the government didn't have as many resources to go out and search one by one each claim to see if it was actually true that this 10-year-old person lost their job, right? And so there's so many examples, and I'm sure you can go on Google or DuckDuckGo or whomever your search engine is and find hundreds of stories of that, and some are very funny and very interesting. The next thing I want to talk about is how they use your identity theft when obtaining a passport or a driver's license. You know, you're not able to leave the country or fly into the country without a passport. Same with a driver's license. You're not able to do many things without a government issue ID or a driver's license. You know, you're not even able to buy, some cigarettes or purchase alcohol, perhaps a rated R movie, or secure employment, or purchase any of these items without a government ID. And so having a driver's license is something that is seen as, well, if I have a driver's license, I'll be able to do and buy many different things with this driver's license. Another thing is health insurance. So a lot of family members, and I actually saw this quite a bit in the few years that I've been working here in the nonprofit, is if family members share the same first name and last name, perhaps, daughter and mother or son and father, they'll share the same insurance plan to cover their health medical bills, because maybe someone in the family can't afford to purchase health insurance for whatever reason. So they'll share. And technically that's fraudulent and not good. But also, if someone is not able to cover those expenses and they find a health medical card on the floor, or they steal your information, they'll be able to use that. So if they go to the emergency room or visit a doctor, to be able to cover those costs. And the last thing, and this is one that I found very interesting, and I don't know how they get away with this, but they'll use your name when they get arrested, which to me seems crazy. But if you don't have any sort of identification on you when being arrested or being detained, you can essentially say whatever name until they follow up and see, okay, what's really going on. But by then, it's already been a few days or a few hours before that process, right? And so hopefully that's not you, but these are some ways that identity thieves or people that are out there trying to gather information may use your personal information. So that is all that I wanted to cover for this part. Please stay tuned and keep watching as we'll continue to build on this topic of identity theft.